Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Leading Our Own Way. I'm Andrew White, and today I'm absolutely thrilled to have a very, and I mean very special guest with me, my mate, Natalie Beatty. Well, now, this is pretty cool because Natalie and I actually grew up just one street. Her street literally went off my street in my small town of Denton in Manchester, back in England. And it's amazing how life has this funny way of bringing people back together, isn't it? It really is. What's really fascinating, though, is how our paths have mirrored each other in so many ways. We've both been in education. We've both experienced that teaching burnout, and so many educators face. And we've both found ourselves questioning the system and looking for more authentic ways to help other people. However, Natalie's journey does differ in many other ways also, and we're going to get into it. But in today's first part, we're going to dive deep into some really important stuff. Mental health, the challenges of facing our youth today, how social media has impacted our kids. Nat's made this incredible transition from teaching into therapy, and her insights are absolutely gold. We're talking about making authentic choices, the struggles of balancing career with family, and what it really means to show up authentically in a world that often asks us to be something we're not. So grab a cuppa, as Natalie would like to say, and how she starts off her mornings, settle in, and let's dive into part one of this powerful conversation with my mate, Natalie Beatty. Here we go. Welcome to Leading Our Own Way. I'm your host, Andrew White, and this is the podcast that unveils captivating narratives of resilience and personal triumph. This podcast is for anyone seeking inspiration and insights on overcoming life's challenges. Follow and subscribe, and then we can lead together forever. Welcome, Natalie Beatty, to Leading Our Own Way. How are you this evening?
Thank you very much for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. It's an old face that I have in front of me. A good old friend of mine, Natalie. I don't mean old as in old. I mean old as in we've known each other since we were teenagers, haven't we, Nat?
A really long time, yeah. So
Right.
when obviously we've linked up again, our faces are a little bit older, aren't they? Because
You still look the same, Nat.
well, yeah, I'm still wearing the same makeup. That's why. But but yeah, it's been a long time. Obviously we kind of started talking again, didn't we? Maybe about 10 years ago, just a little check-in on
Yeah.
Facebook. And then obviously with everything you're doing now, I kind of checked in with you this time, didn't I? I said,
You did.
that's interesting.
You did, and you seem to have aligned with a little bit of my journey in the podcast, and it's beautiful to share what you're going to share with us tonight.
Yeah, well, I'm definitely aligned with that. I think as an ex-teacher myself, although I feel a bit, I lecture counselling now, it's different. So I still work in education, but not for the state and not full time, not with the spoonful of sugar that comes with. So I know when we first started talking, when you left teaching, obviously your story is really public about that, but it resonated hugely with me. The burnout, what it does to you, and work that you've got to do on your own mental health, basically, that you didn't realise was a factor until you're absolutely pushed to your limits, which that job does. So reading about your story, listening about that story, it just felt uncomfortably familiar, to be honest with you. And like you, I too left education after 16 years, a really long time.
Yeah. Well, thank you first of all for taking an interest in my journey, and thanks for extending that on to you sharing your journey as part of my journey as the podcast Leading Our Own Way. So beautiful to have you here tonight, and to put it into context to everybody who's listening, Natalie and I grew up pretty much literally the next street, and I've just had a guest who's just gone out this week, Mr. Gordon Jenkins, who I met here in Melbourne. He was from downtown Lane in our good old town of Denton, Manchester. Insane. And I met him here. So if Gordon is listening, shout out to Gordon, but please go and listen to that episode too, because his journey is incredible. He went to I think Two Trees. It was 5 years older than me. I think it was Two Trees he went to, but he was 5 years older than me. No, he's 55. He's 14 years older than me. Sorry, I apologize. So not the same era of school, but he left to come to Australia in 95 on an unbelievable journey. But you literally lived, there's my street, and you lived there, And
Yeah.
we kind of hung out when we were teenagers and on the corner street playing football with a few other friends, and you'd always walk by. And yeah, it
Yeah.
was, hi, Nat, how are you, Nat? That's how close we were.
Yeah. And
Then
you
actually,
said,
if
so you
sorry,
said
go
that
on.
I didn't really walk though. I always looked like I had a mission.
You did. No, that's very true. And that probably, again, will line with some of the things you're going to talk about today. And now we summed that up in our pre-chat, didn't we? Just that walk on its own.
Yeah.
And actually remember a few years later, even after school, a long time ago now, but I went to a house in Glossop with one of my friends, and you were sat there in the lounge room as I walk in. Could not believe it.
Oh my God, yes.
Do you remember that?
Yeah, but I think it was a party. So the clarity
Well,
wasn't there, but I know. But yeah, I
it was
remember
funny. I
you.
couldn't believe it when he walked in. I was like, Natalie Sumner, as it was back then. There
Yeah,
she
yeah.
was again.
As it was back then. My passport still says Sumner though. I've been married for 5 years. We had our anniversary on Friday, and I've still not
Oh,
got my passport changed, so I'm still Sumner.
well,
To
I think he should be telling you to change it.
yeah.
Congratulations to you guys anyway.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's great.
Well, we start off the episode with how my guest is leading our own way, hence the title of the podcast. So, Natalie, how could you tell us how you're currently leading your own way?
I think it's all about choices, and that's something that I feel so late to the party on.
Mm,
That the choices that I make now are for the right reasons. I felt like a lot of choices I used to make were perhaps financially driven because I thought that's what I should be doing. It was always based on shoulds, always based on should. You should be doing this, you need to be doing that. These injunctions, which we'll talk about. So obviously, from now I'm a therapist, I can see that play out in my clients' work, in their process, and thinking how these messages that we get, what we should be doing, it dislocates you from your authentic self. So I'm by no means finished, and nobody ever is. But when I make decisions now and I get that funny feeling, I go, oh, hang on a minute, I don't think this is the right one. I trust myself more than I have done before, which has had a major impact on my relationships, mainly with my children, and my
mm.
husband, my family, people that really matter to me. I used to do things for other people. The decisions that I made were always for an external validation, and I don't really do that so much now. And I think that's how I'm leading my own way now, really. And by using that, obviously in my client work, supporting clients to find their authentic selves, and in my teaching, I love teaching counselling skills, watching the light bulbs go on for all these aspiring counsellors, or people that just actually want to know a little bit more about their own psychology. That in a way is helping others lead their own way because they're doing it. It's personal. It's really personal, and whether they're in the whether in the classroom learning about counselling or they're in my therapy room learning about themselves, it's for them to become leaders and have autonomy on their lives.
Do you think we have to go through all of these things that you and I have been through and your clients to get to the point of clarity or to get to the point of understanding the power of our own choices? Do you think a 21-year-old mindset has that foresight? Or if so, it's probably very rare. I don't think I could have thought like this at 21, 22 and understanding the deep sense of even the human physiology and the brain and you know what I mean? Like, I know it's a bit of a long-winded question, but
It
do you think
is,
we have to go through this to help us get that?
yes, but how much we have to go through. This is what I find important now. So when I think about my own journey, and many other people that I just know, friends, people that I work with now, you said from a physiological point of view, the frontal cortex, where your ability to offer real empathy and emotional reasoning, that doesn't finish fully developing until your mid-20s. So,
Yeah.
that is a really important point to make. And with younger people, they're, largely controlled by perhaps the amygdala, more impulsive behaviors that
Mm.
don't rely so much on the rational.
Yeah.
However, the environment in which we live at the moment I think bestows more undue suffering than necessary. And I think this is where there's the externalities of expectations, you know, driven by economy, driven by um, the shoulds of what we should be doing. I think people go through a lot of undue pain, really. I think there's the natural life that where we learn from the bumps on the road. But I think that younger people now, you know, you gave an example of a 21-year-old. You know, I work with young people and adults in a counselling capacity, and the world that young people are in now, very, very different from the world I was in. And
Mm.
they didn't ask for it.
True. What do you think their world is different to versus ours now, and also ours at 21 versus their current now, if that makes sense?
God, it's a massive question.
Mm.
And it feels too easy to go social media. Feels
Yeah,
really
yeah,
easy to say
it
that.
does. It does. Yeah, we always say that, but it is a big problem for sure.
It is, but for me, I think it's the dissemination of information on social media and the internet now. I think that is the biggest concern, that you can be a climate denier and have loads of facts there to back that up for you. We even have world political leaders, we know who those are, who say that climate change is a hoax. You know, it's all, we've always gone through these heating up, cooling down cycles, and of course that's true. But the evidence is just overwhelming to say that this is human stimulated on this cycle.
Mm.
Also, we've got the information. I mean, what's really pertinent in the UK at the moment is around immigration and the movement of right wing politics. I think that the way that information was disseminated when we were younger, it was fact checked, or more so, or it was really clear to see what the propagandist objectives were, and it's not so clear now. I think that's really concerning for young people. And of course, you know, we can't ignore the, you know, the effects of social media and what young people are meant to look like,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
and the impact that has on appearance, and the fact that it's all very about the external world, how you are viewed by others as opposed to how you view yourself. Um, but that was an issue when we were kids growing up in the 90s. That's where ladette culture started. So, you know, if you were a girl, you had to be one of the lads, and you needed to drink loads and party hard. It was needed to work. You needed to stick with thin. You know, with the supermodel generation, that touched me. That was in all my magazines that I was seeing.
yeah,
You know, and that's coming around full circle again, isn't it? That being skinny is hot.
yeah,
And it's not. It's terrifying.
yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. It's yeah. For me, because I work with the younger children, I see a huge problem in focus and attention, memory. I think our brains are one of the worst generation. How do I say it? Section of people. I just feel like it's the worst, and I see focusing children, even adults, like walking the streets. No one looks at you in the eyes. Even the adults in the supermarkets and the shops are all heads down again on the devices. I think we're just
So,
living in a on the phone. Yeah, we're just constantly distracted. But I do see it in the classrooms, and it's not the children's fault. It's learned behaviour from disconnect from their families, being babysat. It's given devices to, you know, we used to spend 85% of our time outdoors, and now we're spending 97% of our time indoors. I think it's a huge problem, and obviously that's the increase of your disease because we're not getting the sunlight to our skin. We're not eating the right foods. Food's dramatically changed over the last, 40 years, but I didn't eat ultra processed foods until my gran got too tired to cook dinners, and I was old enough and didn't need that as much, right? So
yeah.
I didn't touch that till later on, but you've now children are get it from pretty much day dot, and that's why you've got your brains
Yeah.
racing at school. The lack of sleep, the three fundamentals of movement, exercise, sleep, and food is gone down dramatically. We're now able to watch shows. We could watch Winnie the Pooh at 2:00 in the morning if we wanted to, and back in the day, I had to be in at 9:00 on Channel 4 if I wanted to watch Friends on a Friday.
I remember that one. But this is
Exactly. So did I.
it's chasing this dopamine hit all the time, and there's so many
Gone.
places where we can get this. Where
Mhm.
you said about how we used to play when we were younger, playing Kirby. You get your dopamine hit off Kirby, you get your oxytocin from those friendship relationships,
Through
you know,
effort, though.
through effort and, being, well, actually as well, being made to go out. Go
Yeah.
on, out with your 6 weeks holiday. I mean, we're coming to the end of the 6 weeks holiday here. And I really had to wrangle my kids to come out with me and the dog.
Oh, yeah.
You come on, literally, she needs to go around the field. She's carrying a few extra pounds. At the moment, my brother breeds Pomeranians, and he came to see her because he gave it to us. He went, "She's the biggest Pomeranian I've ever seen." I'm like, "Whoa, okay, we need to give her a little bit of a crash diet." So I said, "Look, come on, we've got to take the dog for a walk." Oh, I just don't want to do
Yeah.
anything. And they're 10 and 12, and I'm, come on, girls, like we live opposite huge fields, the park just there.
Yeah. Nature
Um,
connection to the world, right?
yeah, but I just feel like I'm shouting against the wind with that, because
Yeah.
it's what every parent is going through. We're all having that same conversation, and the worst thing is now that we're party to that information, we're party to the statistics. The government's even saying, I think we should ban smartphones for under 16s, and they've done that in Australia, right? Is that what you guys have done?
Social media, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
when TikTok and play things like that are not, doesn't stop them, though, does it?
No, no. Well,
I'm
I
not.
mean, what? Sorry, go on.
No. I was just going to say, I don't have a huge problem with that. But again, I always ask the kids in class who's on TikTok, and maybe quarter or half of them will put their hands up. And if it's not their TikTok, it's the parents' TikTok. And then I'll say, well, who's on YouTube? And 90% of them put their hands up. And a lot of children here have American accents, and I'll say to them, "Oh, what part of the States are you from?" And they'll look at me like I'm crazy. So you're from the United States? You got an American accent? No, I'm not. Oh, you watch too much TV, don't you? Yes. And some of them will say, "No, I just watch YouTube too much." Some of them are very honest and very aware of it. But the YouTube shorts, and I explain to them, look, I'm not against all of this. I'm not saying I don't ever do this because of what I do with the podcast, but you are training your brain. If you're sat on a device for, say, 2 hours, an hour, half an hour, but you're flicking through subjects that are only on there for 30 seconds, you are training the brain to be focused for 30 seconds on one subject. Then you're sending those children to school. Those children come into school and expect to listen to a teacher rabbit on all day about
Yeah.
writing maths, something they're not necessarily interested in, but it's the teacher's job to inspire them, make it as fun as they can, which I'm an energetic guy. I'll try and make most subjects as exciting as I possibly can for these children. One, because I don't really have a passion for writing and maths, but I have a passion for them learning it and taking it into the world. Because I know they'll need it at some point. But I do find the fun in making it fun. Even if I know it's boring, I like making it fun, even for me. But these children will look through me. Yeah.
That's why people are educators, or many people are educators. Not everyone has the same drives, I
Yeah.
know, but it's because there's a passion for igniting knowledge to other kids. So, for me, what education gave me, it changed my life. It was transformative. It gave me options and choices when I didn't think I'd have any. And I think that there's so much information out there when you say, these 30-second sound bites where people feel like they're an authority on a topic. And they're not. They've just listened to a talking head on it. And I actually wrote a research paper on this last year about people who talk about mental health, on social media, and the algorithms that are sharking you up. I'm 43, and all my algorithms were either get Botox, get fillers, or you've got ADHD, or do this quiz to talk about your mental health. And I'm like, where the hell has this come from? I'm being sharked here. So basically, I've got to put stuff in my face. If you do that, that's up to you. Well, I'm looking in the mirror. I don't feel like I look like an old boot just quite yet. And if you are feeling a little bit perimenopausal, then, perhaps this is to do with untapped childhood trauma. And then when I went in and looked at the credentials of these people, none of them were trained counsellors or psychotherapists. They were coaches at best. One guy said, he's got like a massive, massive group of followers. This American guy, and I'm not going to say his name because I respect his work, but I feel to talk about mental health, you need to be trained for it to be ethical. And he said,
I'm not trained, I suppose.
well, no, but you're talking about people's experiences with it. You're not sat here going, I'm going to tell you how to cure childhood trauma, or I'm here to
No.
talk to you about trauma responses and how that might show up, or you're not.
Yeah.
You're talking about information you've got with the guests that you have. And you're not purporting to be anything else but somebody who's celebrating people leading their own way and what that looks like for them.
Yeah.
This
Thank you.
one guy goes, he's actually a lawyer, and he said, "I'm just a loving father and a great husband." That's his tagline to give his authority on the topic of how we remove ourselves from toxic relationships and stuff. And I just think, yeah, your lived experience is grand. I respect that, but passing off some of the things you say as truth, for me, challenges ethical practice as a practitioner. Some of it's just incorrect.
Yeah.
And worrying
Yeah.
really that people see. I mean, in some of his videos, I'm going off on a tangent here, but some of his videos, when he's playing the woman, he actually just puts a wig on
Oh.
and says what the woman would say, which I struggle with that. It feels like I'm being mansplained. If you just pop on a ginger wig and go,
I've seen things like that online. Yeah, I get it. Yeah. If you try and keep it funny and maybe comical,
it's not comical. It's like, in all earnest, now I'm doing the woman's bit, and it's like, well, I don't really think you can talk about a woman's lived experience, really. If a woman's presenting themselves in a certain way in a relationship, there's going to be lots of things going on around that, as opposed to, anyway, yeah.
Yeah. No, I understand. No, I understand for sure. So with you then, Nat, you're a counsellor in the week. Let's talk a little bit about your private practice. It's called Time to Talk Therapy. Is that correct? Am I
It's Time
making
to Talk
sure?
Therapy. Yeah, that's me.
Beautiful. Talk to us a little bit about what you do, and you also work in schools as well. Talk a little bit about that as well.
Yeah, so I lecture in the college on a Tuesday and a Wednesday. So they're my lecture days. And what I try not to do is have any private practice clients in the evening then, because my children are home from school. There's piano practice, there's gymnastics, there's all their clubs and stuff. And they like to have their friends around for tea. And, I want to, when I changed the way that I live my life, it was to spend more time with my family. Yeah, these guys.
On that note, we'll bring a picture up of the family, if that's okay with you, Nat.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's Kev, that's my husband, and there's Flo. You can see it in the middle there. Bottom left is Rosie, or Rosemary, and me, and then you can see Daisy the dog in the middle.
Yeah. The picture will appear up on the screen so we don't get the reflection of the photos, don't worry.
But so I have my private practice clients on a Monday, Thursday and Friday. And then I do work in a school as a school counsellor as well on a Friday morning. Although I feel I may put a pause on that at the moment, because my private practice is developing quite a lot. So yeah, I'm really, really lucky that I've got this really nice mix, because it's great having different projects and different things to do that are all centered around my loves, which are, working with people and their mental health. Well, these are my professional loves, teaching and pedagogy. And then you can hear that, can't you?
I can hear that.
As an interlude, next door just keep having people turn up doing random work on the house, so it's silent all day. Can you hear that through the walls?
The system might be able to remove that bit, so that's okay. Yeah, it's all good. Don't worry, you couldn't plan that, could you? So it's live on Leading Out. I'm not going to edit that out, by the way.
So what was I saying? So what do I do in my week? Okay, so Monday, Thursday and Friday is my private practice hours. So either clients come to my home here, so I have a garden office that was built earlier on this year that I've been saving up for. That was my dream, really, to have that, so I could have my own clients.
You know what I'm going to do here.
The overheads as a counsellor are just huge. There it is.
The picture.
Yeah, so inside it's all kitted out now. So that was when the build was finished and all the gardens finished now and everything. But I am with the girls. They're having a Fanta fizz and I'm having a.
But it's dead cozy in there. That's what I need for the podcast.
Yeah, well, it's a really big space, when you're in it. From outside, it's a bit of a Narnia in it. It's brilliant.
Beautiful.
But yeah, I used my life savings to buy this, because I believed in what I believed in the changes that I made so much that I knew it would work. I thought if I'm good, you can't make changes without making changes. I know that sounds daft,
No,
doesn't
it
it?
makes
But
sense. Yeah, no, it makes sense.
by saying, right, I'm going to leave teaching and I'm going to train to become a counsellor, and then I'd like to teach counselling because my lecturers inspired me, and then I want a private practice with my own clients. And the only way that was going to happen was by making some big sacrifices. So I saved up for 3 years. I worked, well, I left teaching. Um,
Well, let's
I was
dig there,
yeah, I
if
was
that's
really
okay.
battered and bruised. So it was, I was really battered and bruised by it all.
Why did you leave teaching then?
So such a big, such a big question. So, when I
It's
first went into
important, though.
teaching, I loved it. I absolutely loved it, and I always loved teaching the kids. But I was my own worst enemy, if I'm honest with you, because, and I know this now from my own mental health journey, from my own education, psychoeducation through therapy, and of course my learning from qualifying, that because I didn't feel enough or good enough, I pushed myself again and again and again without noticing the warning signs that it wasn't working for me. So when I qualified as a teacher in 2008, I was really proud of myself. I thought, wow, can't believe you're going to be an English teacher, because I wasn't really very good at school. I didn't really go, to be honest, that often. I didn't really start going that much till year 11, till the last year. And that was because my sister's very academic, but my dad was like, you're the sociable one, you're going to end up working in a factory, basically, doing nothing. You're not going to get qualifications that are conducive to having a good life. And I'm really close to my dad. He was doing the shock tactics, yeah. That's not how I received that information at the time, but I know that's what was happening, and we laugh about it now.
Yeah.
We're really close, I would say. But it did. My friends, they, in my eyes, everyone seemed to find it so easy, but it's because things weren't easy for me personally. Really, school's tough for everyone. God, I'm still friends with a group of girls that I went to school with, and it wasn't easy for them. It's not easy for anyone. It's brutal out there. It's hard.
Yeah.
Nobody sails through it. Anyway, when I got some GCSEs, I got all of them apart from maths, and that's okay because I still don't like maths. But I got them all, C's and B's, and went to college, and I dropped out really quick because, God, that is such, like, again, if I'm being really honest, I just didn't really bother going to my lectures. There was a student union bar on site. I made some friends, and I was 16. I just went and got drunk every day. Instead, I went to some lessons, and I think I just didn't respect myself. I didn't respect what I was doing. I didn't realize that right then at 16, I didn't realize this could be my out. I didn't realize this could be something that put me on a really positive trajectory. So I got a job, various jobs, various rubbish jobs. And then I left home when I was 16. I met a lad that was in his 20s, completely inappropriate relationship. I can see that now as well. But hey, I was 16 and thought I was a grown up. And then just had various jobs, yeah. And I just did not look after myself at all. But I was a child looking after myself. That's the way I can look at it now, with self-compassion. And eventually found my way back to education when I was 21, and I did an access course to get into university. My sister said to me, why, she was passing her A-levels at the time. She was on for A's, my sister, in maths and science. She works for a really important cancer hospital in the Northwest now because of a physics degree. And then she said to me, why don't you just do it? I was like, this? Nah, don't be daft. I work in bars. I got a party and that's what I do. And she went, why? And I remember distinctly we were at my gran and granddad's. And my granddad especially had always really championed education. I said, I can't afford it. Why don't you speak to granddad? See if he'll give you just a little bit of a bursary every month. Could you do it? I thought, Anyway, I went and just fell in love with it, did English and Law access course. And so weird that the woman was my English teacher when at college. When I qualified, I qualified as an English teacher, so I did 3 years of my English degree and then a year for PGCE, so postgraduate certificate in education, as we do in the UK. She was my head of department in the school that gave me one of my placements, and it was crazy, that kind of full circle. Um, and so education for me gave me everything. It gave me stability. It gave me the ability to support myself. It gave me self-respect. It gave me a sense of parity with my peers. I used to have a really negative self-concept of myself. Nobody would ever see it, like, God, you're so confident. You're always having a laugh. You're always out and about. You always meet people. But inside, I just felt really pretty worthless, to be honest. So,
Did you realise at the time that you felt pretty worthless, though?
yeah. Yeah, I knew I didn't feel great about myself. Yeah, I knew I didn't feel great about myself. And so when I got into education, I was like, wow, I'm going to be a teacher because my English teacher inspired me. I'm going to pay that forward. And I always was really interested in working with young people from similar backgrounds to myself. So basically, kids that didn't have a lot, and society doesn't really have a lot out there for kids that can't afford tutoring, or maybe they're in a single parent family, or other stuff's happened to them. Things that, we may touch on today with my story, but within no time at all, within the British education system, teachers get burnout a lot. So I felt flattered that I was being progressed quite quickly up the leadership scale. Within 2 years, I was on a small TLR, a small bit of extra money for looking after SEN resources with the English department. Then I blinked and I became head of Key Stage 3. So that's 7, 8 and 9 curriculum.
Mm-hmm.
Then I got head of year. And at this point, I was earning more. I was so impressed. I remember ringing my dad up going, I'm earning more money a year than I am years old. And I was really attracted by that because I grew up with nothing really. So I thought, God, like, wow, I'm 27, I'm on 39 grand. Whoa, wow, that's amazing. I want more of that, please, because this makes me feel good about myself. But I didn't stop to think at any point, do I feel good about myself? And I didn't at all. I was like, but this job makes me feel like I do, because externally, what do you tell people? I'm a teacher. Actually, I'm a head of year. Oh, this, yeah. Yeah. And because you've got that education, you can't see my poverty. You can't see my class shame. You can't see all the exiled parts of myself that I feel deep shame about, because I've got this lovely little label now. And then I met my daughter's dad. Both my children's dad. We're not together anymore, but I met him at the school where I was working. And then when I went back after my first maternity, after having Florence, being head of year was just not viable with a new baby, because you've got to be on call. But even on that, I went back to work after 4.5 months, right? Because this is crazy now. I had Florence on March the 1st. I went back to work the first week of July because I felt guilty, because I'd been recently promoted to head of year. I felt guilty that wasn't working. And I remember going back to work and Flo was in a bouncer. And I was bouncing her with my foot, answering emails on a Sunday to parents about stuff that just didn't bloody matter, like so-and-so's lost their pea kit. And I had this little baby girl looking up at me, and I just ignored her. I gave up breastfeeding to go back to work. I put my own daughter's nutrition and my boobs' needs to let milk out.
I'm only laughing because she's boobs.
My bonding with my daughter.
Yeah.
And you know what? We were paying £950 a month to nursery. Right? But I felt so guilty. And I will never get that time back. And when you ask me, why did you leave teaching? It's not a singular answer. It's because I wasn't in the headspace of knowing what's right for me or my kids. is why I left. And then, so when I went back, I wasn't head of year, then became second in department. Then the head of department went on maternity leave, and I thought, I can't take that on. I just had our second daughter at this point, Rosemary. I thought, I can't have two kids and be head of department. Even I knew that was a bit whack. But I got the bug then of going, but they wanted me to be. Oh, I could be a head of department. Wow, head of English. That's mega. Next is SLT. And so I went chasing that, didn't I?
Mm-hmm.
So I moved to another school and I went chasing that. Not available here. So I went to another school, got head of English. Okay. That corresponded, that was in 2018, that corresponded with the year that I separated with the girl's dad. Well, split up. Mm-hmm. That relationship ended. So I became a single parent with a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old, and I was recently made head of English.
Tough gig.
Yeah. Oh, and I have MS as well. So that started to go a little bit woo-woo as well, because I was exhausted.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember my head teacher at the time, I said, look, is there any way I can go down to 0.8? I'm sorry, I know I only started in January. By July, I was a single parent. So from September, can I go down to 0.8? I can't do this. I literally don't know how I'm going to be a mum and give you your money's worth. I mean, I was lost in that conversation. There was no like, I don't feel well or anything, or like, sure. I am heartbroken. Or,
what did they say?
Or I am heartbroken. Like my family's just ended. Do you know what I mean? Like, I couldn't even think about that. It was mass disassociation. Just get to work, get the job done.
Did they allow you to go down to 0.8?
They did do for one academic year while that head teacher was still in post, and he retired, and then there was a new head teacher and she was having none of it. And in the end, I went down the occupational health route for MS. Because I was just starting to get a numb face, a numb side. I was fatigued. Sometimes when my MS is quite active, I can slur. I remember I was eating an apple in the staff room and it just fell out my hands. Now, I've been really lucky in my journey with them. I was diagnosed with MS when I was 30 and I had symptoms all the way through my 20s. And I was diagnosed with it before I was pregnant with Florence.
What were some of the first symptoms that made you think about that then to get checked?
Just like numb legs, numb face, fogginess. And they did checks, just lumbar punch, said there was nothing there. And then what happened was when I was 29, when I was head of year, it was Remembrance Day celebrations at the school. And the last post was being played. And my job was crowd control. We need to have the local newspapers are there. We've got the head of music playing a cornet, playing the last post. And my job was to make sure the kids could just hold the space for 2 minutes while we had the 2-minute silence. Mm-hmm. And I thought I was having a stroke. It was like a cold, wet trickle. Fell all the way through my body, always on the left-hand side. And long story short, I couldn't walk. I partially lost my hearing. I couldn't see for about 2.5 weeks.
Fully?
In one eye, that I couldn't leave the house. If I had to get a drink of water, I had to put my finger in it so I could feel how high up it got. It was awful. Again, that resonated, Andy, with you, because since leaving teaching, touching wood on my desk here, I've been very well. I've been discharged from consultant's care. I'm not under medication. And I don't live like a nun. Weekend nap is still there. You know?
Can't take Denton out, can you?
But I'm not, you can't change.
But you've taken stress out though, right? That has left.
Stress out. Don't get me wrong, I still get stressed. I was working from home yesterday. I had clients at home yesterday. I've still got my kids off, and I'm officially back to work at the college, working remotely. And yesterday, don't get me wrong, I got the twitch. I'm not. This is what I mean. I'm not here talking to you and your listeners today saying I've got it all figured out and I'm like the ultimate zen.
Of course,
I just made some choices that has stopped my body from falling apart.
The point of this part of the conversation, though, is to highlight that you've recognised triggers I know we use that word a lot, but there's triggers, the stress-related topics that's impacted your body, because our bodies speak to us, our organs speak to us, our veins, our arteries, our
Yeah.
cells all speak to us. They spoke to you. I know they spoke to me, and my viewers already kind of know that. I'm very open about all of that, as you know. But then you've changed your life. You've made those changes. That quote that I said to you before, we aired, that I got from the book behind me, Live Like a Lobster. I think it said something along the lines of change occurs when the pain of staying the same is greater than the pain of making a change. And that's clearly what you did. And you've seen it go down. Not perfect, still get stress. But I like to look at that stress as the stress that you've created. You're okay with that stress because that's your stress. But the other stress was somebody, all the other paradigms of the Department of Education, the teacher, all that stress put onto you. Whereas I have stress sometimes of the podcast, but I sit back and go, that's my stress. I'm okay with my stress. I don't know why. I'm still stressed, but it's my stress.
And you're doing it for you. It's like because you care about something. And I think what really got for me was obviously you're taking the stress of Ofsted as being head of English, head of maths. They were the most stressful jobs in the school because the school's performance weighed on your shoulders.
Yeah.
I knew that, but you're naive until it's actually on your shoulders and you're like, oh, that's what pressure feels like.
Yeah.
And then I got a role as associate assistant head, which was no money, but a nice title again, just to give me that soothing, where we call this like self-soothing in counselling, like, what are your self-soothing mechanisms? Is it overwork? What could it, whatever it may be for somebody, it could be alcohol, could be, it could be all the things we do to soothe ourselves, the list is endless. But mine is overwork. Huge. It's to do with work, because when I'm working, I can avoid myself. And if I'm going to tell you something now that when I say it out loud, I may get upset about it and might shock you. Okay. So my line manager as head of English was incredibly, incredibly demanding. I'm not saying he was a bad person at all. I truly don't think he was, but he was incredibly demanding, and there was no space for failure. When I realised I was in the death throes of my time in education, especially in leadership, my husband, after the girl's dad, I met somebody called Kev, my soulmate, my best friend, my guy. And when we got married, he doesn't have any children of his own, and we thought we'd really like our own child. We don't have our own child. It was a really sad time to have so many disappointments, really, because with both my first daughters, came off the pill, got pregnant, it was fine, healthy. Both of them I needed cesareans, but tell me a birth story that isn't dramatic. But apart from that, do you know what I mean? They were healthy, and they are healthy now, and it was pretty plain sailing. And we just couldn't keep pregnant. Like, it was just really crap. And one of my miscarriages, I mean, God, this is awful. One of my roles that I gave myself was to write the whole school teaching and learning bulletin so everyone can see the work I'm doing. Don't get me wrong, I'm passionate about pedagogy. I am. But looking back now, who was I doing that for? Who was I writing that bulletin for at 10 o'clock at night while my kids were asleep and I should be? And I'm up again at 5:30. Who am I really doing that for? Well, it isn't for me, is it? That's not what my body or brain told me I needed to do right now. Let's go and find another quote from, I don't know, walkthroughs or something. Sheridan's work's amazing, but find another quote. And I remember I was actually in the middle of having another early miscarriage, and I took a day off from work, and I was lay on the couch, and I was bleeding. Like I was losing another. Early days, under 3 months, but still that heartache of thinking, is this the one that's going to catch? Because we had about 5. There was 5, and then I had to have an operation for a removal that one did get past the line, but apparently they didn't go any further. But 5 were managed at home. And I was writing this bulletin. And then it gets worse. Then we managed to get pregnant again. And that's the pregnancy where we thought I had got over the line. And anyway, went for the scan and the heartbeat had disappeared. It was there and then it wasn't. And they said, you know, you're going to need an abortion, essentially, medically assisted abortion.
Mm-hmm.
And that same week, we were burying my grandma as well. So the abortion was on the Monday. It was, I had to go under general anaesthetic for it. I came home on the Tuesday. My boss knew all this, by the way. The head teacher knew this. My boss knew all this. I was very open about what had happened. Grandma's funeral was on Friday. On the Thursday. So Wednesday, I came on Tuesday. Wednesday, continued to recover physically and emotionally. And, you know, this is where we were kind of getting to the conversation of that. I think this is us done now. This is us done now trying. Because I was getting to like 40 as well. And I just didn't want to do it past 40 because I felt there was too many risks for me. And I think I was just too bruised. I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like, that was a really intense few years. I can't do that anymore. And then on the Thursday, day before the funeral, I took my car for a little drive because I knew I'd have to drive to the crematorium, and I was taking my sister, and my boss rang me up, right, knowing full well I've been off this week after a pregnancy loss, an operation, general anaesthetic, and a dead grandparent, and rang me up on the Thursday to say, do you know, we're hiring, do you want a Key Stage 3 coordinator or do you want a second in department? What should that job description say? And I pulled the car over and I was in Morrison's car park, a couple of miles away from my house. And that's when I knew I've got to get the fuck out of teaching. Pardon my French. Because I thought, what am I doing? What am I doing? And when Kevin and I got to the place where we decided we were going to stop trying for a baby, because it was just, I think I made it really clear, the heartache around that. And I did a level 2 in counselling studies in 2016 and fell in love with it. I thought, God, tell me more. But because of life situation, obviously breaking up with the kid's dad, as a single parent, and then I'd taken on this leadership role, I thought, I had to put a pause on all that. And that's when I thought, you know what, no, I'm going to go and do my level 3. And so my dad was amazing. Picked the kids up every Tuesday from school, because he was semi-retired at this point. He's fully retired now. But picked the kids up from school on a Tuesday. And what I'd do is I'd work all day in my head of department job, and I'd go to college 4:30 till 9:30 every Tuesday for a year to do that, to be able to decide fully, is that what I want to do? And then I left teaching to do my diploma for 2 years to qualify. And so it was that. I thought, you know what, why do I think I've got forever? I always thought I'd go into counselling in my 50s. Why do I think I've got a 50s? Things didn't work out the way I thought it would do in my 30s and 40s. I think I've learnt a few things here, but if you want it, go and get it. That's what I did. I left teaching to go and get it.
So that pivotal point was that phone call.
One of them.
How did you respond to that phone call? Because I've heard horrible things from leaders and things, you know, things that just didn't make sense in the moment to ask, understand, especially with the feel of the moment in time of somebody's life. How did you respond in that phone call, if I can ask?
Just really affable. Sure, yeah, I'll get that to you. Yeah, everything's fine. It went really well. Oh yeah, the funeral's tomorrow. See you on Monday back at work.
Yeah. Faking it, right?
Oh my God. But at that point, Andy, I wasn't even faking it. At that point, that was just how I showed up.
Yeah.
My needs didn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever you want, boss. Whatever you want, boss. Yeah. Still seeking that external validation, even though I'd lost a pregnancy. I personally, yeah, my husband did too, we did. But I, as a woman, lost that. I had to experience that. I had to go and have an operation.
Yeah.
And then it was crazy. It was so crazy that was how I used to live my life.
Yeah.
And I did so much reflect. I've had personal therapy about it, and I know why. I know why I threw myself into work. And when I see myself doing it now, I know what I'm doing. I'm like, whoa there, soldier. Sit with it. What are you hiding from? Because I used work to avoid myself.
What were you trying to avoid about yourself?
My real feelings.
Which
Feelings of
were?
shame, like shame feelings, feelings of loneliness, feelings of not being good enough.
Was that through the separation, or was that something deeper, as in earlier in
Oh,
your life, maybe?
way deeper, way deeper. I've always
How deep?
been like, right, just my childhood, just never feeling good enough. It's been right from that point. And as you get older, you find more things to mask those feelings. You find more things to satiate those feelings. You find more ways of avoiding yourself. We talk about at the beginning of this podcast with social media. Get your
Hmm.
dope hits. Just sit there like that for your dopamine hits.
Hmm.
Before
Yeah.
you know it, you've lost an hour.
Yeah.
But it's what you do, you know.
Oh,
But learning that about myself, and one of the things I'll say at the end of this podcast in terms of self-compassion, self-compassion is the only way forward, really, to understand yourself, be kind to that person, because you are your first love affair, whether you like it
mm,
or not. You are, and you are only ever going to be, you'll have other champions and cheerleaders that will have your back, don't get me wrong, but you're the most authentic one. So have self-compassion for that person and go, do you know, the fact that you feel like that's not unreasonable, actually. Given what happened, that's not unreasonable, so sit with it.
mm, yeah, absolutely. So, is there, with the burnout of the teaching capacity, because I want to touch on, with what you just said about that phone call, there's something that connects with me and part of that journey. Now, I wasn't obviously going through what you'd gone through with a loss of children and separation and stuff like that. It was obviously a horrible time losing a grandparent, but I'd gone through a bit of a difficult time with workplace bullying 10 years ago. I was very open about that journey after the years had gone by. I started to own it, trying to come away from being a victim of it to try and just vent. People used to say, open up and talk about it. It'll do you good. So I did, but I was always open anyway. That never phased me. You could see the eyes rolling on people. So mine was the exact opposite to your typical bloke. Blokes hide it. Whereas I was open up on the dog park. Here we go again. Colleagues at work can see the eyes rolling, the body language. Okay, I get it. So you do start to stop, but it still didn't stop me opening up to other people. That never really phased me too much, but I used that to motivate me to go and get other things in my life and get another dream job and so on. But I do remember one of my former bosses, and I won't mention who, because I'm not here to upset that person and these places are very small towns, so it's fairly obvious probably if I were to say anything clue wise. But I remember working, and I went through a bit of a difficult time at that place, at that school. And again, probably a normal thing. And I was okay with that. But it sat with me, and it kind of bothered me, and it probably went on for a little bit longer than maybe it should have done. But it bothered me, and I remember my leader, I should say boss, sat down with me talking about stuff, and that person said to me, "We need you to manage your feelings and do it quicker."
Okay.
Yeah, I'll never get those words unmyelinated from my neural pathways, let me tell you that. And I don't even think you'd hear that in a corporate world, but we need you to manage your feelings and do it quicker. Wow. So when you said that about the phone call, that kind of resonated with me quite deeply. So yeah, that was when I started. But I did what you did. I accepted, going, God, what can I do then? Like, what can I do to be better? Not going, hold on, that's not right. I'm going to put my boundaries up here. No, I do now, obviously, because I understand the power of which I went through later on with septic shock and stuff like that, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, no, that's how I related to that. But with you then, before we go, because I've got a few questions around your childhood and those deeper thoughts, is there anything else here then do you think we need to touch on before? Because I want to paint that picture of your childhood. You've mentioned some deeper where this really stemmed from. Maybe before we do go there, for anyone that is has been or is going through or potentially about to go through separation, single mother. How did you get through? Because how did you get through those areas of your life with the leadership that you had, two young children at home, stuck in that dark space? I know you said you stuck into work and you used that, but if I was, I don't know, a friend or a fly on the wall, what would that Natalie have looked like at that time? Wow, 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 wow. What a conversation so far with Nat. I mean, the insights she's sharing about the transition from teaching to therapy, the impact of social media on our young people, and the courage it takes to make those authentic life choices is absolutely incredible. You know, sitting here talking with someone I've known since we were kids pretty much, seeing how we've both navigated similar challenges in education and found our ways to help people, I think it just reinforces why I do the podcast. These are the conversations that really, really matter. But we're just getting started, because in part 2, Nat's going to share some really powerful stuff about her personal journey, becoming a single parent, dealing with multiple sclerosis, and how loss has shaped her path. We're also going to dive into her childhood experiences and how they influenced who she is today. Now, if you want a taste of what's coming and what we've just covered, make sure you catch Tuesday Truths as well. That's something I started a few months ago, but this is the first time. It's a special segment I've started where I pull all the most powerful moments. Well, not all, just a few. A bit of a teaser, from each episode, because it's going to give you the highlights from today's part 1 and maybe a few previews of the incredible parts coming in part 2. So trust me, you don't want to miss it. So make sure you're subscribed, and if you're on YouTube, press the bell and follow the channel here on Spotify and Apple also, because Tuesday Truths drops tomorrow and part 2 drops on Wednesday. And I'll see you soon, but keep leading your own way, and until then, take care. Join us tomorrow to hear more from today's incredible guests and learn valuable insights to help you lead your own way. Don't forget to subscribe. We'll see you then.